on tonight's episode. With the 24th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Bobby Boucher from South Central Louisiana State University. Come on, y'all know how I do. Hey, gotta keep laughing to keep from crying. But we gonna go ahead and get this thing started in a few. Y'all just sit back and hang tight. Hey, yo, DJ, drop that beat for me, dog.
Twizzy is my producer, beats all the time.
Yeah, and they know.
Here we go.
From a dreamer,
I'm just here to let you know.
We been hustling 24/7,
365, get that dough.
Don't know when I'm gonna stop.
Cause that paper feels so good.
Turning and gripping grain.
Leather seats with the
She
wood.
loves to roll with me, she hold it down.
Shotgun.
Windows tinted, so you know she blow me.
Shotgun.
And I'm riding in the whip to the money. Drop y'all, they come back in for the money. They call me Mr. Certified. Come and get that gig right. I'm trying to see the world, been a key. Come take a flight, I can see it now.
Amp winning a Grammy.
Them haters gon' be mad.
And no, they can't stand me.
It's so cool.
I'm just repping for my team.
Check the stats, pimpin'.
We playing for that ring, no flexing.
Back, watch me do me. If you ain't heard,
They love it, they love it, they love it. Let's go!
And they know, 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 and they know. They love my shit. They love my shit.
Yeah.
They love my shit.
Yeah.
And they know, 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 and they know. They love my shit. They love my shit.
Yeah. Let's go! Y'all know what time it is. It's Draft Eve, baby. Thank you. Have a seat. Everybody have a seat. So y'all know it's Draft Eve. It's also Hump Day. But in Amp's world, it's what we do on Wednesday. Now, I don't know about y'all, but since that Green Bay loss, right, I have had a lot, and I mean a lot, of questions that have come into my mind about what we doing. I mean, y'all have seen it, you know. The lack of activity in free agency, letting free agents go, keep depth pieces. Dan Quinn is no longer with us. We bring in Mike Zimmer. The Joneses continue to say goofy stuff. I mean, it is a lot. And if you know, like I know, there is no such thing as an off season in Dallas, right? No such thing. Because there's always something going on, always something to be seen, always something to be heard, always something to be talked about. So I have a laundry list of questions that have just, come into my head that, are to be answered. A lot of them, some of them will be answered on tomorrow. But quite frankly, going into the season, I really don't know what kind of team I'm going to get. But it's cool. First question up. This is more of a freestyle. We just going to have a casual conversation, just talk this thing out, and just see where we end up, Why are the Dallas Cowboys so contradictory of themselves? On one hand, they say we love our guys, right? On the other hand, via the press conference on yesterday, Jerry Jones says that he needs to see more leaves fall off the trees before he decides to bust a move or make a decision. Come on, what we doing? And that was geared more towards your big looming contracts between Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons. And so it makes me ask myself another question. Are those three gentlemen not worth it? Over the last 8 years, has Dak Prescott not shown you that he's worth it? Why is Dak not that guy? He's practically been a model citizen. The only thing we've heard remotely close to any type of issue is what came out recently, and I don't even fully believe that story. There are a lot of questions to be answered about that, Case was dismissed, and then then it's going to be started in a different county, and whatever. But Dak was the MVP runner-up on last season. Now I know, in all fairness, I know you have not seen the playoff production that you would have liked, right? We continue to fall short. Have a great season, 12-5, 3 years in a row. Stephen Jones is not going to let us forget that. The amount of wins that we have accumulated in the regular season over that time span. He won't let us forget it. How you doing, Auntie? Good to see you. So, CeeDee Lamb, ridiculous year last year. A couple of seasons ago, we were asking who was better. Was it him? Was it Coop? It was like 1A and 1B. And then unfortunately, Amari Cooper departed from us. We got a 5th round pick in exchange for that. I still can't understand that whole decision. And the reason behind that was because we had to keep Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup is no longer with us. So you've got CeeDee Lamb, you've got Brandon Cooks, right? Jalen Tolbert, and then who else? So what I want to know is what we doing at the receiver position. You know, there are a lot of guys. That room is pretty plentiful this year. I won't get into the specifics of the names per se. AMP is not doing a mock draft. I don't knock anybody who is doing one or plans to do one or has done one, but that's just not my thing. But, you know, again, going with these questions. With Jerry being slow to pull a trigger on these contracts and the fact that talks have not occurred, is Jerry Jones scared to get burnt by players? You know, because we went ahead and signed, you know, Gallup while he was hurt, and that didn't quite pan out well for us. We didn't get the value in return that we thought we would. So does in my mind, as he loves to say, is he thinking that these contracts that are looming, is he thinking that these guys are playing good because they're trying to get their next contract, and then after they get the bag, then they're going to catch out? Is that what he's thinking? You know? So then you start looking at what he said, you know, in regards to being all in this season, right? And he basically tripled down on that statement in the press conference. And he made the statement that we're all in on our young guys. We're all in on the draft. We're all in, we're all in, we're all in, is what he said. So that brings another question to me. Why are we so dependent on our young guys? Or as Boss Cowboy would say, why are we so dependent upon our red shirts? And the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is actually very simple. It's because we ain't got a doggone choice. You let a large majority of the depth on this team walk out of the door. We haven't replaced those guys via free agency. So here we are at the draft without ample picks, and we have to fill these positions. So I honestly believe that Jerry and Steven say that we're all in on our guys, especially these young guys. And then he went as far as to mention Walesko and Bass and Hoffman and Johnson and a couple other people. Tolbert. But you're almost forced to be all in on those guys because that's all you got, bro. That literally is all you got because of your lack of activity in this offseason. Now, we did re-sign a couple of our guys. You know, we got Jordan Lewis back. They're bringing back Rico Dowdle. But it's some holes to fill because we looking a little Swiss cheese-ish right now, you know? So shifting gears a little bit, it makes me ask or think of another question. I could not help but notice watching that press conference how grossly uncomfortable Mike McCarthy looked at that podium sitting beside Jerry and Steven. And so it makes me think, especially after the recent news that dropped today, that your head coach, Mike McCarthy, has hired Donald Yee, the attorney and sports agent, as his agent. Now, we all know that Mike is on the last year of his contract. As far as I know, there have not been any talks of any extensions. I will say I am surprised that they kept him on this 5th year, considering the way things ended on last year and how upset the Jones family appeared to be after the loss at home to Green Bay. But it makes me ask the question, is this Mike McCarthy's last year? They brought it up on 105.3 The Fan today on Sean and RJ. And the statement was made, what's he getting an agent for? It's not like he's going to have another contract negotiation. They don't even think the man is going to be able to have a job in the NFL anymore. And to me, that's crazy. That is absolutely absurd that a head coach that goes 12-5, 3 seasons in a row, finally got the reins to control the offense the way that he wanted to after the exodus of Kellen Moore. You see an improvement of that offense, and you're telling me that you don't think that that gentleman can get another head coaching job in the NFL? It's blasphemy. Now, you could ask yourself the question, do you think that Mike McCarthy can get us over the hump as far as the playoffs are concerned? But as far as him coaching, stop the cap. So it makes me wonder, is this Mike McCarthy's last year? We just recently hired Mike Zimmer to be our new defensive coordinator in place of Dan Quinn, who departed to take the head coaching job in Washington. Is this Dak's last year? Is this CD's last year? Is this Brandon Cook's last year? Is this Zach Martin's last year? Is this DeMarcus Lawrence's last year? Like, it's so many questions. And the Jones family said that during this draft, they're going to be all in on this year. So there is no building for any potential exoduses of any players because they're only worried about them filling the slots for this year. So I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of depth picks with this draft, if you will, or undrafted free agents. So to answer the question, do I think this is Dak's last year? Absolutely not. The Jones family, to me, loves to do a lot of goofy things. They like to create a lot of drama or drama situations. They like to let stuff linger and fester. And primarily it's because people like you and I are going to talk about it. But they are not dumb enough to let this man walk and only receive a 3rd round compensatory pick. When you know good and well, if you trade him, now I know he's got the no trade clause, but if you trade him, at worst you'll get 2 firsts. Maybe 1 this year, maybe 1 next year. Or maybe 1 in 25 and 1 in 26. However, so that would be considerably dumb on their part. Is this CeeDee Lamb's last year? With the production that young man put up this year and what he has done since he has been on this team, he has done nothing but produce. He has done everything you've asked him to do. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. Does he have some growing to do? Absolutely. I need him in crunch moments and big moments. I need him to be more protective of the ball. I need him to actually catch the ball. But as far as I'm concerned, for the most part, he is very dependable. Sometimes to a fault of Dak. Sometimes I believe Dak leans on CD too much, which is why I think we need another wide receiver in this draft. It's deep, it's loaded. Go get it. Now, another question. So it was leaked that, Mike McCarthy had stated that he really wanted an offensive lineman in last year's draft, and for whatever reason, it did not happen. So that brought about another question for me. How much input will the Cowboys coaching staff actually have on the draft? Now, in previous years, we saw Dan Quinn pretty much, as far as the draft was concerned, get what he wanted. He was able to move and shake some things, right? Now, Mike Zimmer, friend of the family, they brought him back for this season. Now, one would think that they would do their friend a solid. They've already granted him Kendricks, who was one of his former players with the Vikings, right? All right, Auntie. Love you. Take care. Be safe. Kiss mama for me. So, yeah. I'm curious to know, and I really believe Zimmer will have his thumbprint on this draft. I just don't know if Mike McCarthy is going to be afforded the same opportunity. I honestly do not know. Another question. Will Micah Parsons get signed? Now, the news came out today that the Dallas Cowboys exercised the 5th-year option for Micah Parsons. So that's good news. He's been secured for another year. But to Law Nation's point, it's almost like a junior franchise tag, if you will. Because whatever that amount is, I'm not sure. I have to go back and research it. But that's all going to come out in 2025. So I'm hoping maybe they're using that as a placeholder. And sometime between now and before the start of next season, or before the start of the next league year, they can go ahead and get something worked out long term. Another question. Touched on this a little bit earlier. Why is it that our owners wait to sign players? I mean, because it has been egregious over the last several years. And even if you want to just keep it and reduce it to the Dak era, right? Tag Dak. Well, you made him play on a 1-year deal. Then you tag him. And then he finally gets paid. Amari Cooper got traded here. We waited until Washington almost snatched him away from us for us to sign him. DeMarcus Lawrence, the same thing. Zach Martin, the same thing. CeeDee Lamb, we're doing the same thing. And every time we wait, there is a player from another position, from the same position on another team that gets a deal, resets the market, and then because we were late to the party, now we've got to add that much more on top of it. And it ends up costing us more. Jane Slater even alluded to that, and she asked that in her question. You know, she was like, well, you know, what do you say about, you know, the number going up? And Jerry and Steven did what they do, and they deflected and they turned it into something else, and they were turning it into, you know, knowing the numbers for the salary cap in coming years. But what Jane was talking about is when you allow other teams to sign players, just like we saw today. Y'all. We saw the Detroit Lions, a team who has been active in this free agency period, go out. They signed Sewell. They signed Amon-Ra St. Brown. They signed 2 guys to long-term deals with heavy guaranteed money on the same day. Not the same week, not the same month, not the same year, on the same day, y'all. So guess what? It is possible. So going back to why we wait so long to sign players, your boy, Mr.
I want Mason Glory Hole.
Said it's because I'm just not ready yet. I repeat, Jerry Jones said, I'm just not ready yet. What? You got 3 potential future Hall of Famers out there without a goddamn contract, and you talking about you ain't ready, and they on the last year of they doggone deal, and you know any other team would be willing to snatch them up from you if the opportunity presents itself, and you talking about you ain't ready, and you leaning towards going into free agency, and their contract expiring, and now any and everybody can shoot their shot? Are you crazy? I'm telling you, it make you scratch your head, man. It makes you scratch your head. So guess what? Amon-Ra St. Brown got 4 years, 120 mil, 77 guaranteed, with an average per year at $30 million. Now, just a few short years ago, if y'all remember, when it was time for Coop to get signed, they was tripping on 20. And because that market has continued to elevate, just like the cap, now that number has ballooned to 30. Your wide receivers are knocking on the door. They've opened the door to where quarterbacks were just a couple years ago. And your quarterback market continues to go up. There's several other players in that market who are yet awaiting to be paid. It's a group of about 4 or 5 of them, I think. Trevor Lawrence is one. Let's see. Jordan Love is one. Jared Goff is another one. And then when those guys get paid, if their agents do what agents do, they're going to push that needle just a little bit further. So when Jerry and Steven do decide to finally ink that thing and make it happen, guess what? It's gonna cost you more. Truth be told, Dak should have been extended last year. Would have been way cheaper. Way cheaper. Now, we really haven't heard a whole lot from Mike Zimmer since he has joined the team. He did that initial presser, and then my man went and locked himself in the basement. Now, I appreciate that because to me, a quiet man is a working man. And I believe that he is doing everything in his power on the front end to begin to prep and do things schematically that will get this team and this defense to a level that we hadn't seen in the last couple of years. I also believe that he is doing his homework along with the scouting department and trying to target guys who will fit the type of scheme that he wants to run, right? And most of you know Zim, he's an old school guy. He don't take no crap. He demands a lot from his players. He demands a high level of effort, skill, discipline, awareness. But a big part of what Zim requires is coachability, right? So I think you will see those guys be targeted in the draft this year. It is known that he likes the 4-3. He likes big physical corners, big physical linebackers, big physical defensive ends. And so that actually brings up another question. Will there be certain players that Mike Zimmer, because of the way that he likes to do things, will there be certain players on this current roster that unfortunately get phased out? For type reasons. Could they ultimately push DeMarcus Lawrence inside? Could they push Sam Williams inside? Will we see Junior Fiocco? And then obviously, we got that big gaping hole. That's another question. Right there in the heart of your defense, in that interior. We've seen the depart of Jonathan Hankins. And then to make matters worse, Mozzie might not be ready for the start of the season. God dang. Bruh. It's sad, y'all. So I know we have, Mr. Carl Davis that we acquired late, I believe from the Patriots. He's a little long in the tooth, but nonetheless, he's an experienced vet with some size on him. Don't know much about him outside of that, but he could potentially play a role at One Tech. So, you've had people, these draft experts, you've heard them, kind of beat around the bush about potentially getting and spending yet another draft pick on another defensive tackle. And I'm here to tell you, if the Dallas Cowboys do that, they will be foolish. Because if you know like I know, it is very hard to get a defensive tackle to be starter grade ready in their first year play. So to me, that screams, could we potentially pick up a veteran defensive tackle, a one tech, in this second wave of free agency, if you will? Now, we know, the rumors kind of came out, their philosophy or whatever, strategy, lack thereof, about their lack of activity in this whole free agency thing. And the way it works is, you get blessed with your compensatory picks if you acquire players during a certain period. You run the risk of losing those picks. And as skimpy as our picks are this year, especially not having a 4th round pick, I do not think the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry and Steven, were not willing to let those picks go for the sake of adding 1 or 2 veteran guys. It's also the cheaper option, but I get it. Now, to the original question, could those players be phased out? It is very possible that they could be phased out, or they may not necessarily be phased out because of Mike Zimmer and his defense, but they may be transitioned to another position. And actually, because of reports, we've already seen that Mike is actually already planning on doing that. Linebacker Marquise Bell from FAMU did some good things for us last year. Pinch hit it at linebacker. He will no longer be playing that position. He will be moving back to his true position at safety. And quite frankly, I agree with that decision 100%. Did he do a fairly decent job for us? Absolutely. But let's keep it real. Frame-wise, even though he put on some weight, he was not built to play linebacker on a consistent basis in today's NFL. I know it was strategic and it helped us some in the passing game. And you may kind of see Mike Zimmer do a little bit of what Mike McCarthy did on last year. Instead of doing away with the playbook in its entirety, I think you may see a percentage shift, if you will, of the playbook. I think some things that Quinn did, he may decide to keep. But he's still definitely going to put his thumbprint on this defense. You're going to know it's a Mike Zimmer's defense. Now, shifting gears to offense, and this has a lot to do with what we will see on tomorrow night, as early as potentially the first round. Where will Tyler Smith play in 2024? Now, he said he's playing guard. They said he's playing guard. I honestly believe that is TBA. And the reason I think it's TBA is going to be dependent on the draft. Now, the great part about Tyler Smith is he is super flexible, right? Angry Cowboys fan in the building. What's good, my man? Salute. Marcus McFarland, salute to you too, sir. Tyler Smith is extremely versatile. We saw him thrown to the wolves out to left tackle in his first NFL season, and he held his own. He held the other team too, but I mean, you know. But for the most part, he did a pretty bang-up job for us in the absence of Tyron Smith. And then in year 2, you saw him slide on over to left guard. All pro season. What more could you ask from the young man? Now, there are some very polar decisions as far as what to do with Tyler Smith. You got your folks who say, leave him at guard, leave him put, don't move him no more. And then you got some other people that say, hey, take advantage of his flexibility, kick him out to tackle, and get you another guard, right? So, you know, we lost not only Tyron Smith, but we lost Tyler Badass too, Biotish. So the left side, with the exception of Tyler Smith, is definitely a little shaky. You know, we got Hoffman, we got Bass. And those guys could, both, one, the other, could end up being replacements, right? And that's cool. But I think depending upon, this is my theory, depending upon, got two actually, depending upon what falls to them, will determine where they place Tyler Smith. If it's a tackle that they really like, and they believe that that individual can be a day one starter, I think you'll see Tyler Smith stay at left guard. But in the event that the tackles get snatched up and all we have in front of us at 24 is a guard, then I believe you'll see Tyler kicked out the left tackle. Now, I'm putting myself in Jones' shoes, right? The most ideal scenario is that your tackles get wiped out. I know you're saying, dang, Ant, like, that's the most ideal for the Jones family? Yes, it is, because, excuse me, I correct myself. The most ideal situation for the Jones family is for a tackle to be there. Because now you can get that tackle. He's a first-round talent. You have a 5th-year option. So you're going to be paying him, but you aren't going to be paying that individual top-tier left tackle money in the NFL, top 5, top 10 tackle money like you would if Tyler Smith had moved out to tackle. Because guess what? Knocking on that door, knocking on that contract door, believe it or not, it's Tyler Smith. This is year 3 for him. So you have another 2 years before it's time to ante up on his behalf and pay real left tackle money. Because you can pay him his 3rd year, his 4th year, and then you can hit him with the junior franchise tag for the 5th year. So technically, we got Tyler Smith guaranteed for at least another 3 years. But if you get one of these tackles out of the draft, well, guess what? When Tyler Smith's contract comes up, you ain't got to pay him tackle money. Now you're paying him guard money. Meanwhile, you're paying a rookie contract to that left tackle. It's the most frugal option for the line, if you will, which is why I believe that's the plan that the Joneses would prefer. They're hoping that one of those tackles is there. I can almost book it. Now, while we're here, I know a lot of times, I've been giving you all a lot of good questions to ponder, some good information, but hey, players slip up sometimes. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit you with this real quick. And we're back. So, looking at my list, I think we have pretty much gone through all of the questions that I have had that have come into my head during the course of this off season. Except one. Now, before I ask this question, I'm going to go ahead and set up a situation and scenario for you. If you all remember, a couple years back, there was a disagreement between two men. And I'm making reference to the rap game. And it was between Lil Wayne and Birdman. And there was even a suit that was presented because of it. Basically, after devoting himself to Cash Money at the time, Lil Wayne had a great career. Put out numerous hits, great albums, a slew of mixtapes, right? And he made that label a lot of money. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, he felt like he was being cut out a lot of money that was owed to him. So, he moves down to Miami, becomes very good friends with Rick Ross, right? And they like that, did a couple songs together or whatever, they locked in. They buddies now. They boys. And so, after hearing and catching wind of the situation, and how not only Lil Wayne, but other individuals in the rap game were not receiving proper compensation from Birdman. And so Rick Ross took offense. Now, the song that I'm referencing, before I say that. So, what does he do? He flexes his power. Goes in the booth, drafts up a song, puts it out there. The song is entitled Idols Become Rivals. And in that song, Rick Ross describes how back in the day, he used to idolize Baby and them boys. I mean, you remember, we saw the videos, right? Flashy cars, jewelry everywhere, grilled out, big stupid medallions. I mean, they had it, right? I mean, they had it. I mean, even so much so, hey, I called myself a rapper at one point in time in my adolescence days, and me and my homeboys, man, we started us up a group. We performed every now and then or whatever. And we wanted to be just like them. We had the white tees, you know, we had the baggy jeans, you know, the do-rags, the hats, you know, and, you know, we ain't had the money, you know, we wasn't working like that, you know, and mama wasn't about to spend no bread on it. But, you know, we would take that aluminum foil and, you know, so we had the grill and all that, right? That's what we did back in the day. That's what we did, right? My dog, hey, what's good, man? Good to see you, man. So that's what we did, right? Because we idolized what we saw from Cash Money. We wanted to be like them. You know, that was the start of the bling era. Because, you know, prior to that, you know, hip-hop was flashy, but it wasn't that flashy. They took flashy to a whole nother stratosphere. And so Rick Ross goes on to say, hey, man, I used to look up to you. And then come to find out, y'all didn't really own those cars. You was right here rocking fake jewelry and all of that. Like, you put on this persona like you was getting it and you was talking about, you know, we the business, $500 million. Like, you got that deal, bro. And you ain't break bread with the people that help you get that. So that's what Rick Ross took offense and had a problem with the treatment of individuals who he called his friends in the rap industry because of their mistreatment by Birdman. So I'm looking at individuals like CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence, just over the course of the last couple of years, individuals who have done what has been asked of them, right? Leaders on this team, you know, staying out of trouble. Even Zeke Elliott, you could put him in that category. Yeah, you got a little trouble, but nothing major. He missed 6 games. Okay. And I don't even think that was warranted based off of the facts that were presented, but that's another story. So all of these guys, even Zach Martin had to bow his chest out at the Jones family like, hey, y'all forgot what y'all told me y'all was going to do? Like, I'm still one of the top guards in the league. And you ain't trying to pay me? Hey, man, I'm going to be at the crib until y'all decide y'all going to do what y'all going to do. And then he finally got paid. So at the very end of this song, Rick Ross says a very, very powerful line. Very powerful line. Because all of those individuals that I just mentioned who are on this team and who were on this team are what I call producers. They produce. They produce the numbers. They produce the stats. They produce an effect on the game. They produce an influence on the young players that you love so much. And they out here fighting to earn what is actually due to them. So I'm gonna leave y'all right here with the last question that Rick Ross posed in that song.
Last request, can all producers please get paid?
Can all producers please get paid? Good, better, best. Never let it rest. Till your good becomes your better and your better becomes your best. Cowboys Nation, it has been my time. It has been a privilege. And until next time,